Classic Model Builders, welcome back. This is the next kit we are going to be doing. This is the Revell Corsair. It is also a 1/48 scale because that's my favorite scale that I like to do. I already opened up the box. We're going to show you what's inside. One package, looks like we got some parts here. Of course, we're going to wash them. Got our canopies right here. And this looks like the rest of the model, which is the fuselage and the wings, and looks like some bombs. We have our instructions. Here are the decals that come with this model. So let's see what else it calls for. So here are the instructions right here. It looks like we open it up. Of course, you got the paint. They got 12 different colors. Over here you have all the parts. So there's 59 of them listed, but not all of them are there. You're missing number 50 and 51, and then 56 through 58. Those are probably landing gear type of deal, as typical airplanes do. Time to start washing parts. All right, we're getting started here. This is what I always do. Put my warm water in my little sink here, put the soap in, throw in the parts. Fairly simple. Mix it around, let them soak for about 15 minutes. When you're done, you pull that drain plug. Let all the soap and the water dry out. Rinse off your parts. You want to get all that soap off of them. The reason we're doing this is it gets all the oils off. It makes it a lot easier to glue and to paint. Some people do it a little bit differently. This is our little pilot here. We're going to paint him a nice tan color. His straps, we're going to do those next. Those are going to be a wonderful olive drab. Here are his boots, not his straps. Those go brown. His helmet is also brown. Paint those right there. I had to cut the knees off of my pilot. We'll show you that later on. His little earphones, those go yellow. There's two of them, one on each side. The headpiece for that is going to be a little black stripe. Wasn't real visible. I did my best that I could. This are his aviator goggles, so we're going to paint those silver. Looks really nice. Here are the straps. We're painting those olive drab. Get one coat, then I'll let that dry a little bit, and then I give it a second coat, and they really stand out. After we paint these, we're going to switch to our skin tone color. And what is that for? His hands and his face and neck, of course. So we'll get his hands painted up here. Once those are done, we'll move on to his face portion, and we'll get his neck, and we'll consider him done. There he is. This is on the landing gear. Those numbers, if you don't like them, they'll need to be filed off. That's what I did here. Sand them, make them look real good. Wasn't too worried about it. Here are the top center wing halves. These are the landing gear pieces. I'm breaking everything off with these tin snips. That way they're easier to manage for when I go to paint all these parts. A lot of these are going to go Chromate yellow or Chromate green, whatever you want to call it, because that's what everything in cockpits went back in those days. So here are some more parts. Those are mainly for the landing gear. More landing gear stuff, except for the pitot tube. So this is the fuselage, and we are going to start by painting this Chromate yellow. We're going to do two coats on this. Not right now, though. This is the first coat. These are the center wing halves. Those will go on top of the bottom wing halves, of course, except that's one whole piece. Here are the landing gear struts and the control stick. We're going to paint those. This is the cockpit seat. Here's another angle of that we have. Right here are the gear hinges. We're going to paint those. Those are so your landing gear can move up and down and in and out. These are the rear tail doors, the bulkhead, and the rear landing gear. Get those painted. That bulkhead only needs to be painted on one side, and as well as the landing gear doors. Those are only one side as well. And here's the other set of those. Each side has two sets and one little for the front. So we got those painted. These are the retainers right here, and those are the straps for the landing gear. Here's the second coat that goes on the inside. It really stands out once you put that second coat on. And here's again the center doors and the cockpit seat. Here is the other side that I'm doing of those because I couldn't spray those earlier. Another coat for the doors, and these are the retainer hinges, and here's the doors again. The other side, don't forget to spray your tail well area, and here's that other part. Here's the control stick. The handle goes black, and the base of that is also going to go black. Get that painted up here, really simple. Get that all done, and that looks nice and pretty. This is the instrument panel. That goes black as well, and the instrument clusters all go silver, and I always get a little bit of silver paint onto a brush. We'll brush that off. We're going to let that dry. Here's the bulkhead, painting that brown. Once that is painted brown, we can move on to the actual instrument cluster because it's dried a little bit. We are taking the cockpit seat off here, and we're going to scratch a little bit to put our pilot in. Remember, as I said earlier, I actually had to remove the pilot and break his legs off because he wouldn't sit quite right inside of the cockpit with the canopy on. Glue on the control stick, remove the bulkhead, put a little bit of glue on the back of the chair. You're going to put the bulkhead in place right here, and I also put some glue on the back of that just to make sure it stayed secure. So here we go. We are scratching in those instrument panels. As I said, I put a little bit of silver on a paper towel and I just kind of brush it off, and then I just slightly go over it. Remove that, and we are going to put that onto the cockpit seat here. So just scrape away the paint like we're doing, put a little bit of glue on there, and put that down. Maybe it didn't fit quite right with the man because of the way I had the bulkhead, but who knows. The fuselage halves are removed here. I'm just testing the fit. We always want to make sure our parts fit. Scrape the paint away from this. Don't glue anything yet on that part. Scrape all your paint away because we are going to prepare this model to glue these two halves together and to put some pieces in. So this is where we are going to sit our cockpit. Scrape that. Scrape the little holes right here. This is where the bulkhead's going to fit. Got this little knobby right here. We're going to scrape that too. Put some glue in there. Get our bulkhead with our pilot, and we're going to put him in. It's got some little spaces in there so he fits nice and snug. Remove these. These are antenna. I just broke them off. Wasn't too concerned with how they looked. You can always sand those down. Put a little bit of glue on that round part. Push it through this slot and press it down into that little hole. Do the same with the other side, except it just fits into a groove, as you can see right there, and press that down firmly. Be sure not to break them, of course. This is our arresting hook that goes all white. We'll paint that and we'll break that off with a sprue once that is done. And after we get this all painted up, we're going to paint our hub right here on our wheel. Do both sides. The wheel also goes black once we're done with that, showing you that here. Very easy to do. Just be careful, stay in the lines. It's like coloring like a 5-year-old. I'm not good at it, but I try. So we're going to get the rest of this wheel painted up, and we'll break this off, and we can place this into our rear fuselage. So we'll show you that here in a second. There we go, breaking off the door and breaking off that. We're going to snap the resting hook into place. It doesn't get glued because you want it to move freely. Notice the orientation of it. These are the rear gear doors. Remove those from the sprues. We are going to take these door retainers off because those are going to hold. Notice I didn't paint those yet. There's some flashing here that needs to be cleared away. That way we can make sure the doors fit perfectly and they move. I'm scraping this away because that's where we're going to glue the retainer. So see how I just slide that in one on the other and it'll move freely. Rest that on something. That retainer was a little hard to hold with the tweezers, but I managed to get it done. And it has two little holes that you can put that in. That way it keeps its orientation and where you need to put it. Do the same thing on the other side. Scrape your paint away. We are going to take our little door. We'll clean the flashing off right there in the hinge area. Put the door in one side at a time, as I've shown there. Put our glue right here. Remember, you don't want to get it on the hinges because you want them to move. And put our retainer in place. Let it dry. Once it's dry, you've got some little holes for our tail. And you see how I put that in there? That's so that tail can move back and forth. Put the glue all along the fuselage right here. We're going to do the top portion, the back, and the tail. Get some spots here for your cockpit. Go all along this. Make sure you get it good with the glue on the tail. Go all the way down across the fuselage, get your other half, and we are going to place that on top. And once it's placed on top, secure it. Notice I did not put anything for where that cockpit window will seat the canopies. Make sure everything sits nice and tight. Here I am wrapping it with tape. You want to make sure it's secure. Do two sides of that. Don't worry about the glue because you can file it down, sand it off, use some putty around there. That's what I did. I'm going to show you how this goes in and out. You just kind of push this door in there and you let these doors sit down. That wheel sticks out just a little bit. So we're going to take out this wheel here. As you can see, just lift up the landing gear doors. You're going to pull on the wheel a little bit. It should pull that tail hook right out. If not, you can just move it out with your fingers. Once we do that, take all your tape off of the model. We're going to sand that down later if it leaves any residue. Make sure it's not there. Get both ends. And this completes part 1 of this Corsair model. As always, don't forget to subscribe to get the latest videos. Comments and likes are appreciated. See you on the next one.